A missing mother and a family in turmoil.
We just drove all over and come up with nothing.
Did you think that Beth was in danger?
My gut told me there was something definitely wrong.
What was Beth like as a mom?
Beth was a great mom. She was a great person. Beth would never leave her kids. She was so devoted to her kids. I think it was pretty clear to the family that something bad had happened.
He had not seen Beth, had not been with Beth. He didn't know where she was. There's just a whole lot of red flags going on with this guy.
Yeah, I didn't take to him at all.
What was it about him you didn't like?
Just the way he talked and saying stuff about Beth.
We uncovered some things that were very concerning.
Those stains were analyzed by a crime lab and found that those stains came back to Beth Coots.
And that was the moment we absolutely knew that we needed to find Beth Coots' body.
Beth told me that she ain't gonna grow old to see the kids.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Poynette, Wisconsin, just 45 minutes north of Madison. The small town was rocked to its core when a loving mother of two suddenly disappeared. As investigators tried to figure out what happened to her, secrets were revealed and neighbors began questioning just how well they really knew each other. July 27th had started like every other day for 30-year-old Beth Coots. She went to work at her manufacturing job and left around 3:15 p.m. But this day was different.
What she was supposed to do once she left work was go pick up the two kids and then come home to her mother's place.
But hours passed and Beth never showed up at either location. It was completely out of character. Beth was responsible and her life revolved around her two young children. What was Beth like as a mom?
Beth was a great mom. She was a great person. Beth would never leave her kids. She was so devoted to her kids. When she didn't show up to get those kids that afternoon, I think it was pretty clear to the family that something bad had happened.
My gut told me there was something definitely wrong, so we started driving around looking for her.
As they approached Beth's workplace, they ran into her coworker, Greg. When they told him she was missing, he seemed worried and said he would join the search.
They kind of, gave it the, hometown effort and looked around, tried to contact her, contacted some other mutual friends or folks like that she maybe was acquainted with.
We just drove all over and come up with nothing.
They even contacted local hospitals, but no one had any reports of her. After hours of searching, Greg saw an opportunity to get help.
Greg Stahl actually pulled up to a state trooper on the interstate just outside of Poynette and had reported to the state trooper that not only he but the family were out looking for Beth Coots and gave descriptions of what she would be driving.
The trooper put out a bolo, which means be on the lookout, for Beth and the green Jeep Grand Cherokee she had borrowed from a friend. Around the same time, Beth's mom walked into the Columbia County Sheriff's Office to file an official report.
Our dispatch center sent out an alert on her, a missing person alert.
Beth's mom told police that her daughter had been going through a lot of stress and had recently separated from her husband, Dan Coots.
About a week earlier on July 20th, she moved out of her house with Dan and she moved into her mother's house, which was on the other side of Poynette.
In a small town where everyone knew each other's business, the news came as no surprise. Beth and Dan had been married for 9 years and had their fair share of issues.
Yeah, when they got married, things were good for a while, and then they started getting a little shaky.
Dan had dreams of becoming a farmer and bought a piece of land, but he had no idea how to make money. The couple quickly went into debt, And that's when everything started to fall apart.
We knew that historically they were struggling financially. They were having their property repossessed. Matter of fact, that day on the 27th was the final date that the bank was taking over the property just south of Poynette. So there was financial problems in this family.
But that wasn't all that plagued the marriage.
There was some talk about infidelity.
The tension between the couple had boiled over, and family encouraged a cooling off period.
I thought, it was a good thing just to maybe split them up a little bit or separate a little while, and maybe things would come around.
But the timing of the separation and Beth's sudden disappearance seemed coincidental, and investigators wanted to know if Dan was somehow responsible. Police went to speak with him, but couldn't find him.
Dan wasn't around. No one knew where he was at the time.
I mean, not only was Beth Coots missing, we couldn't find her estranged husband, Dan Coots, either. So we were looking for both of them.
He had not seen Beth, had not been with Beth. He didn't know where she was. There was no contact whatsoever.
Both Beth Cutts and her estranged husband Dan were missing. No one knew what happened to either until a 911 call came into the sheriff's office around 12:30 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah, I'm coming down Highway CV and it just came over the tracks at the end of the airport. Okay. And it seems to be an inebriated man, kind of staggering along the side of the road.
How about a quick description of him?
Seemed to be a white male, I would say maybe 6 feet tall.
Okay.
The man turned out to be Dan Cutts.
They asked him, what are you doing? And he said he was trying to get home.
It was clear Dan had been drinking, and a deputy drove him to his brother's home. Detectives arrived a short time later to question him about Beth. Dan was upset and said he had no idea she was missing.
He had not seen Beth, had not been with Beth. He didn't know where she was. There was no contact whatsoever.
Dan told investigators that he loved his wife and was having a hard time dealing with their recent breakup. He said he hadn't slept or eaten in 2 days. He was cooperative, and with no evidence that he had been involved in any crime, investigators left and the search for Beth continued.
Now we're within about 12 hours of Beth missing, and all these things are happening, and they're happening pretty quickly. Beth's still not found. Her vehicle is still not anywhere to be found. We're out doing, good old-fashioned police work, and we're interviewing people, we're talking to people.
A friend of Beth's suggested that police look at a man named Daryl. He was the guy that Beth had an affair with.
This wasn't recent in close proximity to the time she went missing, but it's still a concern for ours. It's still a red flag, and we have to eliminate everybody.
According to friends, Daryl had fallen hard for Beth and was upset when she decided to end the affair.
I think Daryl wanted it to continue, and when Beth had called it off, there was information that Daryl was not happy about that.
Police went to speak with Daryl. He said he hadn't seen Beth in a while and was in a new relationship. He claimed that the day Beth went missing, he was with his new girlfriend and her family.
He wasn't even in the area, had an alibi that was accounted for, his presence accounted for, not anywhere even in Columbia County during this time.
But Daryl wasn't the only one Beth had an affair with. Investigators were told that she had recently started seeing someone else, and they soon discovered that Beth's new love had some secrets of his own.
I didn't know it until the day she come up missing, that she was seeing this guy. Yeah, I didn't take to him at all.
There's just a whole lot of red flags going on with this guy.
The new man in Beth's life was her coworker, Greg Stahl.
Greg is one of two people who reported Beth missing on that day.
Greg told police that he was her boyfriend and that they had been in a relationship for a few months. It was news to her brother.
I didn't know it until the day she came up missing, that she was seeing this guy, and yeah, I didn't take to him at all.
What was it about him you didn't like?
Just the way he talked and saying stuff about Beth and that they've been together for a while.
Police said Beth's brother believed that something seemed off about Greg.
We started looking into Greg, and we uncovered some things that were very concerning.
We learned over time that he had some type of law enforcement job in another state prior to coming to Wisconsin.
Detectives learned that Greg had moved to the area from Arizona after being fired from his job at a local sheriff's office.
He had utilized law enforcement records to inappropriately. There's just a whole lot of red flags going on with this guy.
Detectives now wondered if Greg had made their relationship into more than it actually was. Had she disappeared after rejecting him? Investigators weren't sure, but it did seem convenient that Greg was the first person that Beth's family ran into while searching for her. Greg denied being involved and told police he worked all day and had just left when he saw them.
He had a strong alibi as he was at work, and not only many of his coworkers confirmed that, but he confirmed that, the management confirmed that.
With Greg cleared, the investigation was in danger of stalling until police got a call that the Jeep Beth had been driving was discovered in the parking lot of a hospital in Madison.
We learned that the Jeep was completely wiped down. Why would someone do that unless they're trying to cover up some type of evidence?
Despite the elaborate cleanup attempt, the crime lab discovered blood stains in the cargo area.
Those stains were analyzed by crime lab folks and found that those stains came back to Beth Coots.
Beth's blood in the Jeep confirmed to investigators what they had feared all along.
She was killed and her body was placed in the cargo area.
But who was responsible? Even though the Jeep had been wiped clean, the crime lab discovered one single fingerprint on the outside door handle. It was a match to Beth's husband, Dan Cutts.
And that was the moment we absolutely knew that we needed to find Beth Coots' body somewhere, that he had killed her.
Suddenly, everything from the first hours of the investigation started to make sense.
Well, this is why he's walking on the road. He was with her. He was in that vehicle. He parked that vehicle in the hospital ramp, and he started walking back towards family, and that's when he was found by the Dane County Sheriff's Office.
Dan Cutts was now the prime suspect in Beth's murder. Investigators broke the news to her family. They were in shock. No one could believe Dan was capable of murder. But Beth's brother told detectives that she had mentioned some odd behavior by Dan in the weeks leading up to her disappearance.
He was following her around a lot to work, from work. He was stalking her more or less, even when she was, when she moved in with my mom, he'd hang around. Across the road there was an open field with tall grass, and he'd park there and watch.
Beth had told her mom that she was worried how Dan would react when she moved out. She said she was calling the police to come with her to get her belongings. Investigators found the recording of that call.
What about if I did this tonight, kept the peace, if you went over there with me, kept the peace, I got my clothes and stuff, and tomorrow I went up and got a restraining order on him because he's threatened me and stuff, and I'm worried about the kids, I'm worried about myself.
Hearing Beth tell dispatch that Cutts had threatened her and she was worried for her safety was the tipping point for detectives.
We had enough. We had it, even though we didn't have the body. And at the time, there wasn't a case in Wisconsin that had a homicide conviction without a body. But we had enough. We knew that Dan had done it. It was pretty clear. Everybody knew that he had done it, and the arrest needed to be made.
Dan Cutts was arrested and taken into police custody. When detectives confronted him with the evidence, his story suddenly changed. And what was his new version of events?
He was with Beth, that he got into her vehicle, that they drove around, that they went to a couple different locations, that they were romantic together, that they were trying to rekindle the relationship, and that all was good. And eventually she dropped him off at a gas station in Madison, and as he came back out of that gas station, she was gone. And so he just started walking down the road.
The story was a clear attempt to try and explain away the evidence, but Dan Cutts wouldn't have an excuse for what investigators were about to discover. When Dan Cutts was taken into custody, investigators went through their usual process of collecting personal items.
They removed his clothing, his jewelry, and it was noticed suspicious staining, suspected blood on the backside of his watch band.
The state crime lab analyzed the stain and concluded it was in fact blood, and it didn't belong to him.
That was Beth Coots's blood on the inside of Dan Coots's watch band.
It was the evidence prosecutors needed when they went to trial 6 months later. Dan Cutts was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. Beth's brother still has a hard time understanding what happened.
You know, Beth told me after she moved out, that I ain't gonna grow old to see the kids or something, is what Dan told her. And she asked me, and I said, I think he's blowing steam, and I don't think he's that type of guy. Well, boy, I was wrong.
And he will never forgive the man he once called brother.
He took my sister, but more important, he screwed up the kids, his kids. They don't have a mom. They don't have a dad. He really, nobody's life is worth taking for stupid stuff.
Dan Cutts was sentenced to life in prison. And even though he no longer denies killing Beth, he still refuses to tell anyone where he put her body. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. While no relationship is without conflict, sometimes there are warning signs that tensions may be escalating towards violence. Stalking, for example, is a major red flag that a relationship could be headed into dangerous territory. There are many different forms of stalking, and you should make yourself aware of them. The most common are rejected stalkers, those who refuse to accept the end of a relationship. Another type of stalker is someone seeking revenge for a perceived wrong. And finally, there is the stalker who desires an intimate relationship so close that it becomes unhealthy. If you suspect you are being stalked, stay alert for warning signs and be aware of your surroundings at all times. And for additional protection, consider carrying a personal safety device or taking self-defense classes. And if you fear you're being stalked, contact law enforcement or call Victim Connect at 1-855-4VICTIM. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe. An Air Force major ambushed in his own driveway.
He had been confronted by somebody, and a horrible, horrible fight took place. The crime scene itself, there was a lot of blood.
This was a tragedy that happened here in our community.
Would bring investigators on a quest for justice.
It was just a mystery as to why this would occur to this major in a very nice neighborhood.
It's a dark and twisted tale filled with lies and deceit.
We had the information that they had been having an affair together. They kept their affair a secret.
Why didn't you like it?
But no one expected the shocking direction the investigation would take.
Everybody says, yeah, you need a break in the case. This is more than a break.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Panama City, Florida. It was here in an upscale residential community that a loving father and Canadian Air Force major was ambushed outside of his own home. As detectives pieced together the baffling clues surrounding his murder, his family was left grasping for answers. It was dawn on a brisk February morning when Monique Trin called 911.
911, what's the emergency? My husband is face down in the bushes. I don't think he's going to be safe. Okay, do you know what might have happened to him? I don't know.
Investigators raced to their home and found the body of 42-year-old David Trin next to his driveway. It was clear the major in the Canadian Air Force had been the victim of a savage assault.
He was laying, about 5 foot over from the driveway. There were several bushes and trees and a fence there, and he was laying face down. And I remember his jacket was partially pulled down in the back. And I remember that one of his shoes had come off his foot. The crime scene itself was very bloody. There was a lot of blood.
It was a very brutal scene. You could tell there had been a violent, vicious attack. There was blood not only on the back of Major Trin's head, but there was blood on the bricks there, the grass, the fence, the bushes that were growing there. There was even cast-off blood on the van that was parked there in the driveway. It had been really foggy that morning, so the ground was wet, and they had the area roped off pretty soon to make sure, or taped off, to make sure that there wasn't be any contamination of the crime scene, so the crime scene specialists could gather the necessary forensic evidence in the case.
The evidence surrounding his body puzzled the officers on the scene.
There were some other items that were located there at the crime scene that perplexed the investigators. For instance, there was a shoe that was not Major Trin's shoe. There was a mask that was left there. A brown work glove was there, and one of Major Trin's own shoes was missing at the time.
It was a mysterious crime, but detectives were sure about one thing.
It was obvious to the individuals investigating the scene that whoever had committed this crime would have blood on them also.
Police asked Major Trin's distraught wife, Monique, about what had happened.
She was interviewed once that morning and then later that afternoon. That morning, she indicated that she had been sleeping in the master bedroom with her son, the baby. Her husband had slept in the guest bedroom, which was not unusual. She indicated that she got up around 5 o'clock in the morning. She took a shower. She went into the kitchen around 5:30, did not see Major Trin. She went back to put on her makeup, and there around 5:45 or 6 o'clock, she heard his alarm going off. Usually, after the first beep or the second beep, he would turn that alarm off. But on that morning, the alarm kept going off, so she had to go in there and shut it off, and he was not in the bedroom. She indicated that she went into the garage. Nothing appeared out of order. She opened the garage door. The van was out there. She did not see her husband, so she walked outside to see if perhaps he was in the van.
She said it was then she made the horrific discovery. She told police she couldn't think of anyone who would have wanted to harm him.
She indicated that he didn't have any enemies, and she really didn't have an explanation as to how this could have happened.
Monique allowed investigators to search their home, and no blood evidence was found inside. Detectives wondered if his murder had been the result of a botched robbery.
When we went through the home, we didn't find any area where anybody had attempted to get in.
The medical examiner was called to the scene, and his conclusions told a grisly story of the victim's last moments alive.
Multiple blunt force injuries to the back of Major Trin's head.
He had 11 or 12 skull fractures. He had been terribly, terribly beaten. His last moments alive were horrible. It had to be, just looking at what happened to him. Looking at the crime scene itself, he really fought. There was a heck of a fight.
The medical examiner made an intriguing discovery inside Major Trin's pocket.
A receipt from one of the grocery stores that stayed open all night long. That indicated that at 2:14 in the morning, Major Trin had purchased some Midol and some Tagamet. However, there was no Midol or Tagamet found in the van that he had driven to the store or there at the crime scene.
The timestamp on the receipt helped narrow down the killer's window of opportunity.
We knew that this murder happened sometime after 2:14 that morning.
So at that point, what theory did detectives have?
Investigators did not know if someone had followed him from the store in an attempt to rob him, or perhaps he stumbled upon a burglar.
Detectives were surprised a crime of this magnitude had happened in such a quiet residential area.
Kind of an upscale neighborhood. You certainly would not expect something like this in that neighborhood.
Officers fanned out searching for a lead.
You know, we canvassed the neighborhood, we looked all around, tried to find anybody who had seen anything or heard anything.
So did you find any witnesses?
No one had heard anything suspicious that night.
Police wondered if Major Trin's work at Tyndall Air Force Base might have played a role in the attack.
Major Trin was a computer specialist there for the Canadian Air Force. He was part of the NORAD system that defends all of North America. It's a joint military operation here at Tyndall Air Force Base. Given the nature of his work out at the Air Force Base, they didn't know if somebody had attacked him because of his job there at the Air Force Base.
Investigators speculated that the top secret work he had been focusing on had put him in the path of a killer.
He was a master planner with attention to detail.
And we found out that he worked in the same area there with Monique, the Major's wife.
Authorities investigating Major David Trin's brutal murder theorized that the crime could have been connected to his classified work at the Air Force Base, and it was all hands on deck to solve the case.
This was a joint investigation not only by the Panama City Police Department, but also the Air Force military as well as the Canadian military. And we wanted justice not only because this crime occurred in our community, but also it occurred to a Canadian citizen who was serving not only his country, but helping serve our country also.
So could investigators find any evidence to link the Major's work to his murder?
They could not come up with anything that would connect this crime to his job at Tyndall Air Force Base. So that was pretty much ruled out at the beginning, right at the beginning.
The pain of Major Trin's shocking murder was almost unbearable for his family.
Every case devastates the families. You know, Major Trin was the victim, but there are so many more victims than just him. I got to know his family really, really well.
David was a very caring person. He took a lot of time with the children. He was a very caring father and family man.
The brutal crime terrified the community, and the tips began flooding in.
We started getting in numerous anonymous tips. The police investigated those, and most of those failed to check out.
Despite an intense investigation, detectives didn't have any solid leads or suspects.
At that point, we're kind of scrambling to come up with something. There were a few days there we were pretty much at a dead end on this. We just didn't have anything to go on there. We certainly needed a good break to come our way.
But then, an anonymous caller contacted police. What did the caller say?
They told us that we needed to look into somebody named Ralph Crompton.
Detectives quickly ran with the tip.
Immediately, when we looked into Ralph Crompton, we found out that he worked out at Tyndall Air Force Base in the same area there with Monique Trin, the Major's wife.
Detectives were convinced this was the lead that would blow the investigation wide open.
this is what we need. We're on the right track. I mean, couldn't believe it.
Law enforcement dug deeper into his background.
Ralph Crompton was a retired master sergeant from the United States Air Force. He had been a very good military man. He was a master planner with attention to detail.
But when detectives looked into Crompton's whereabouts for the time of Major Trin's murder, they were stunned.
He was not working at Tyndall at that time. When we found out that Ralph Crompton's working in Aiken, South Carolina, he wasn't even here when this happened.
It looked as if Crompton had an ironclad alibi for the night of Major Trin's murder. It was a disappointing setback, but it only served to ramp up the investigation, and police would soon uncover a sinister plot. What was his reaction?
I'm telling you, he looked at me and you could just see damn near all the blood drained from his face.
Detectives had received a tip that 40-year-old Ralph Crompton had been involved in Major Trin's murder. But the investigation revealed shortly before the crime, he had taken up a job in South Carolina.
He was in Aiken, South Carolina, working at that nuclear plant up there, is where he was at the time of the murder. He was not in town.
While investigators flew up to Aiken, South Carolina to verify Ralph Crompton's alibi, they found a witness who had worked with Ralph and Monique, and the details the woman provided pushed the investigation forward. So what did she tell you about the two, Monique Trin and Ralph Crompton?
They had been having an affair together. They kept their affair a secret.
And when detectives spoke with Crompton's boss in Aiken, South Carolina, what he revealed was a bombshell.
When they started talking to Ralph's boss, they found out that he had called in sick that day because he wasn't feeling well, that he possibly had the flu.
So Ralph Crompton didn't actually have an alibi for the time of the Major's murder.
The 24-hour period that Major Trin was murdered, Ralph Crompton didn't work that day.
Since Crompton had recently moved for his new job, he was staying in a hotel, and Crompton specifically told the hotel staff not to enter his room that day.
He was going to stay in bed and stay in his room for 24 hours. He did not want room service. He didn't want to be disturbed.
Police continued to dig and discovered Crompton didn't have a vehicle in South Carolina, so officers quickly searched through the records at the local rental car agency.
What they found was that, in fact, Ralph Crompton had rented an automobile, had paid cash for the automobile.
And that wasn't all.
We checked the mileage on that vehicle. It fit right into going to Panama City and back.
Detectives sent the rental car to the lab for processing, and Crompton was brought to the station for questioning. Crompton denied having an affair with Monique Trin.
So you've never had an affair with Monique, contrary to what people tell us.
Oh, yeah, I know. Basically, we're lunch buddies, and that's about it.
But you've never had an affair with her? There's never been anything between you, sex-wise, anything like that? Okay.
No.
Detective Dan Bates strategically allowed Crompton to trap himself in a lie.
I asked him, I said, well, Ralph, what if somebody told me you rented a car up here?
What was his reaction?
I'm telling you, he looked at me and you could just see damn near all the blood drained from his face.
Detective Bates turned up the pressure.
Why would somebody tell me you rented a car here?
I don't know why.
Because you rented a car here.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you lie to me?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna plead the Fifth Amendment on this.
And then he asked for a lawyer. That was the end of it. The interview was over.
Detectives were forced to release him until a judge agreed to sign an arrest warrant. But officers kept him on around-the-clock surveillance.
They conducted surveillance on the hotel room to make sure that he did not leave.
But the next day, Crompton never emerged from his hotel room, so investigators went inside.
They found Ralph in the bathtub, and the bathtub was full of bloody water where Ralph had attempted to kill himself.
But he was still alive. Did he say anything?
He said, I did this to set her free.
Ralph Crompton's wounds were not life-threatening, and he was treated at a nearby hospital. It was then law enforcement completed the forensic examination of his rental car.
They found a speck of blood on the driver's door that had went down kind of like behind the armrest area.
So when the lab analyzed the blood, what were the results?
We know who it belonged to. It wasn't Ralph. It was our victim. So at that point, we knew we had our man right then and there.
Phone records confirmed Crompton had called Monique before Major Trin's murder, as well as moments after the attack.
We know that because we got telephone records of all that.
The evidence revealed Monique had planned to collect her husband's life insurance policy, worth over $600,000.
We believe that Monique had conspired with Ralph Crompton to kill her husband, to eliminate him, and also for the life insurance proceeds.
Ralph Crompton was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, but Monique had flown to Canada for her husband's funeral and refused to return.
Monique is a very evil person, very, very evil. Who is the worst person in this? Ralph or Monique? Well, that's easy, Monique. She manipulated Ralph big time.
Detectives believe Monique had sent her husband to the store in the middle of the night to set the plot into motion.
She woke him up in the middle of the night complaining about she was sick and sent him to the store. Ralph was waiting out there next to that garage door when he came home.
Ralph Crompton was tried and convicted for committing Major David Trin's murder and was sentenced to life in prison. It would take 9 long years to extradite Monique Trin from Canada to stand trial for orchestrating the attack. She was convicted of second-degree murder and got the maximum possible sentence of 22 years behind bars. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Many of us think of our homes as a safe place to retreat from the world, and they should be. But in reality, our home is only as safe as the security measures we put in place. Consider installing an alarm that alerts both you and law enforcement of any intruders. Nowadays, these systems are quite sophisticated, and security cameras can capture multiple locations. Motion detectors can also alert you at home or even remotely to let you know if someone is present before you enter or exit your home. Posting signs that these security devices are in place is often a deterrent for criminal activity. And for additional guidance, you can check out safety.org. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.